Okay, we're going. Oh, it's time to fix my hair. And we're live. It's live time. Yeehaw. Somebody tell me if you can hear me, because I need to know. That's just a staple. This doesn't work if I'm not audible. Oh, shout out to the two crew. Shout out to the two people who have already liked this video to make it a success. You are good people. And I'm audible. Thank you, YouTube user. Yo, kid. I'm heard. I feel seen. I feel validated. I feel listened to. Thank you, everyone. Rock and roll. It's me, your Zest Drug, still wearing my librarian clothes. What's up? Ready to talk to y'all about a whole heck of a lot of research I did. Oh, I have great news. It's not a shirt. It's a whole ass dress. Ass dress. Oh, Amanda's here. Yeah, okay, so listen, I'm already seeing some like, oh, cool, it's more monster fucking. For those of you who were here a couple weeks ago or watched the backlog, and if you watch my backlog, God, you're stronger than me. You might remember that a couple weeks ago, I sat my roommate here, and basically we spent an hour just monsters we would bang while y'all threw more suggestions at us like a bunch of pampered children flicking peanuts at a hapless circus elephant. That is not what we're going to do tonight. For one thing, Rye isn't here. For another thing, I'm no longer going to disclose which ones I would personally bone. Jess wants us all to know she would bone a mind flayer. To which I say, there's truly a pot for every lid. Because I'm not giving Jess any more reaction images of my mug. And more importantly, last time we did this, it was just kind of a matter of personal preference and discussions and sex appeal of various creature features. This time, I did a bunch of research. I have history. I have folklore and mythology. I have morality tales. I have reclamation of desire. We are getting into whether or not it is feminist to want an orc to rail you in the moonlight. We're actually not going to do that. I can't say that part even like as a joke because I just spent all of today writing an outline for a future upcoming stream about why I think it is reductive and futile to try and label your personal sexual practices as feminist or not feminist, because that's not how feminism or sex works. Actually, several people have already corrected me to say it is feminist to want an orc to rail you in the moonlight, so I guess fuck me. The people have spoken. Vespers jumped in to say that they already love the energy of this stream. Me too, bud. Me fucking too. No, I prepped a whole heck of an opening for this one, and I hope this energy keeps going, because for some reason I didn't think to read through the outline and practice this before I did it like I normally do before a stream. So fingers crossed. Let's get cracking. What I'm trying to get at is that stories about relationships with non-human things aren't new, but the cultural meaning that we put in those stories has shifted radically across various times and places and contexts in which they're being told. Like every story ever written tells you something about the time in which it was created, whether it's intentional or not. So to loosely quote my queer theory professor, I want to know what the people have been up to when telling their monster fucking stories through the centuries, building up to asking what the modern ones say about us now. Also give me 2 seconds whilst I rearrange my tabs. So I didn't, sorry if you didn't want your name spoken out loud. If it was weird, tell me. Throw more peanuts at me. Also, the energy is good tonight, and I appreciate that. Thank you, Draven. Hang on. Tabs are being rearranged so that I can watch the chat and my outline at the same time and not be distracted by my own moving face like some kind of goldfish. I am a goldfish. Okie dokie. Artichoke. There we go. All right. So I know that the title kind of suggests that Beauty and the Beast is where the history starts, but that's not accurate. Oh, Draven says my outfit makes me look like a professor. Thank you. Miles is here, queer, and 3 minutes late. Well, 3 minutes late. I'm going to say late. You know what? I am a professor taking you to school about monster fucking. The original Beauty and the Beast, I mean, not the original, the first published version, La Belle et la Bête, was published in 1740 by Gabriel Suzon Bardot de Villeneuve. We're going to have to look a lot further back than that to stories so old, we don't know who the fuck came up with them. Oh, Jess just called me Miss Frizzle. Yeah. So woodland critters aren't strictly monstrous, but I do think we need to touch on tales of relationships between humans and like pretty ordinary looking animals as part of this conversation, because many stories are close thematic cousins to tales of outright monster fuckery. Nathan Spaulding, I just said Beauty and the Beast wasn't the beginning. It's just a convenient story to put in a title. Keep up. Keep up. Although, Rach, I would say it's less Zeus being a slut and more of Zeus being a rapist. Zeus was a rapist. My next bullet point was talking about how Greek mythology has just countless instances of Zeus turning into ordinary animals like a snake and a swan and a bull in order to force himself upon mortal women and goddesses and his own mother. You name it. So, like, Zeus is the real monster here. But there are also many, many stories that follow kind of a similar vein as Beauty and the Beast, but have, like, an ordinary... Yeah, he also turned into a golden shower of coins, I should throw out there. He wasn't piss. Wolf Girl says she's got the knife ready. I hope it's to stab Zeus. But there are a lot of stories that kind of follow the gist of Beauty and the Beast, but have an ordinary animal in the place of something overtly monstrous. There's an interesting, like, inverted version of it that's a story from Ghana that features a hyena and an important lesson about arranged marriages. Basically, the young woman's parents pick out a suitable man for her to marry, and she refuses, and instead picks a handsome and athletic stranger. And then it turns out the stranger is a hyena who chases her down and probably would have eaten her if she hadn't turned to stone, because, like, stories are like that. So, hey, girls, maybe, like, shut up and don't complain when your parents find you a nice non-hyena man to marry, because you can't trust handsome strangers. They're hyenas and they'll eat you. Inkling of a Dream wanted to throw in, feel like for it to count as true monster fucking, it has to be consensual, so that someone involved can be termed a monster fucker. Oh, yeah. Mary Castle, I'm way ahead of you. Buckle your fucking seatbelt. The Frog Prince is also an example, and also probably a lot creepier than you remember. Most of us remember the Frog Prince, or, like, hear it for the first time as, like, a simple case of, like, frog does a girl a solid on the ground that she'll kiss him. Like, it's usually, like, rescuing her ball from a well. And then, like, she doesn't want to kiss him, but she's like, okay, like, you did me a solid. I will chastely kiss this frog. And it turns out he's a handsome prince. So, like, you should totally let gross frogs extort you into kissing them. The original version is actually even creepier and a lot more convoluted, as many old school fairy tales are. And it has the frog asking the girl for a lot more than a kiss. She has to, like, be her constant companion, eat at her plate, and, like, even share her bed at night. So that's a lot. He still turns out to be a handsome prince, though, when she gets so frustrated that she picks him up and hurls him across the room, and he hits a wall, and he turns back into a man who is improbably still down to marry her. So that's, like, a fun little story. Hey, girls, if a strange man extorts you into kissing him, you should let him into your bed. It'll all turn out all right. This is arranged marriage propaganda. There's a gender-flipped version of the Frog Prince from Russia, the Frog Tsarina, where the frog turns into a beautiful woman by shedding her frog skin and leaving it behind. And the human prince, not wanting his bride to turn back into an ugly frog, steals the frog skin and destroys it, betraying his wife's trust. There are similar versions of the story from across dozens of cultures. European and East Asian versions tend to favor women turning into birds, while some African versions have them turning into buffaloes. And one Croatian story has a wolf. The most well-known variation is probably the Selkie, a Scottish myth about women who turn into seals until a man can steal their skin and, like, trap them in a marriage. In most of those versions, it doesn't matter how long the human and their animal bride have been married, or even if they've had, like, multiple children together. If the bride gets a chance to reclaim her animal skin and abandon her family, she will do it without hesitation. So what are these stories, like, telling us? Hang on, sorry, I want to check in on the chat real quick. Fairy tales are wild. Yes, they are, Vesper. Miles says, I'm literally only familiar with the Disney version and the books the Disney version was based on. As I recall, they slapped. They slapped. Amanda says, yeet the creep. Correct. Yeah, Selkie but Froggo. We've got some Selkie love here. I appreciate that. This print's empty. Yeet. Preach. Jesus Christ. Yeah, so Draven said, I'd ditch out too if someone was holding me captive. Leprechaun Sean said, as she should. Let's talk about what these stories are telling us. And more importantly, what were they telling the people who first heard them? Because like these stories weren't written for a sociologist with a blog to talk about them centuries later. They were written to teach some young people things. So if you're a nice human woman, your takeaway is probably supposed to be that you should shut up and accept it when someone arranges an advantageous marriage for you. Your parents, and especially your father, know better than you do, and the guy that you pick for yourself could very well turn out to be a monster. And okay, maybe the guy your parents picked also looks like a monster at first glance, but if you stick it out, you'll get used to him. Maybe you'll even learn to like him. Maybe he'll even turn out to be an okay person who's worth liking. It's possible. Or like maybe he'll just kill you like all his other wives. Like there's a French folktale called Bluebeard that's kind of a horrifying reverse Beauty and the Beast, where he looks like a nice guy and then it turns out he's murdered his many previous wives and fully intends to murder the new one. She usually gets out of it by like getting rescued by her brothers at the end, although in Angela Carter's retelling, her mom shows up on a horse with a sword and just skewers the man. It's funny how all these stories center around marriage as like it's seriously threatening to like women's life and limb and general well-being. It's almost like in past generations, many women had almost no social power and had to gamble with putting themselves at the mercy of men who might be total strangers if they wanted to secure any kind of financial stability for themselves. Wild. Okay, wait. Magical Typhoon Lady just threw Aquaman 2018 out there, and I have no idea what that's in reference to. Are we calling Aquaman a silky? Oh, I love retellings where the skin isn't stolen and it's just happy magical ladies and their nice calm fisherman husbands. Yeah, I think that's kind of what Aquaman's backstory. I haven't seen Aquaman. I was like, oh, I'm going to see Aquaman because it's Jason Momoa and I like him. And I was like, oh, and Amber Heard's in it. She seems good. And then I found out Amber Heard like willingly dated Elon Musk for a while. And I was like, now I have mixed feelings. I did not see the movie because of that. I didn't see the movie because I don't see movies. But that did sour some things for me. Yeah, Amber Heard dated Elon Musk. We've all made some questionable choices. Anyway, whereas if you're a man, the implicit lesson of those animal bride stories seems to be that women are like wily and untrustworthy, and they will abandon their responsibilities as your wife and as a mother if you don't keep a strong patriarchal hold on them. Cool. There's a variation on the animal skin theme that I want to share that Mary mentioned because I think the implications of it are fascinating. It's a Japanese story focused on a crane who becomes a human woman in order to marry a human man. Unlike other stories where the husband steals his wife's feathers or fur to keep her, in this story the wife takes her own feathers. She rips them out every night so that she can pass as human and weaves the feathers into a silk brocade that she can sell to make her husband wealthy, even though doing so makes her terribly ill. Now, at risk of projecting my own complicated relationship with womanhood onto this story, ain't that just being a woman in a nutshell? You strip away your truest self at great physical cost. For what? The satisfaction of supporting a mediocre man? I think not. But at risk of projecting myself too much onto a story from a culture that is not mine, I should throw out that the moral of the story is that love should never require that much sacrifice on anyone's part, and that this is a very bad thing. Oh, we're all passing on Elon Musk? Good. Good. Christ. Oh, Smash with a bat. I love that. I can get behind that. Okay. Oh, I'm so proud of myself. The next beat in the outline says, but Mackenzie, you're crying. It's been like 15 minutes. And it's actually been 14 minutes. So I timed this really well. I know myself and all of you exquisitely. But Mackenzie, you're crying. It's been like 15 minutes. When are we going to get to the good stuff? I want to hear about fucking monsters. Well, how do you define monsters? Does straight up Satan count? What about other demons? Because there are about as many stories about sexually predatory demons as there are about animal spouses. Unsurprisingly, many of these demons were said to be responsible for either sleep paralysis or unwanted pregnancies. There's a convenient excuse for some things. Remember, kids, no matter how fun it is, religion and folklore get made up to serve a social function. In some cases, explaining how you got pregnant, even though you're definitely totally a virgin, I swear this is for sure because a demon had sex with me while I was asleep. You might be noticing a recurring theme here is that these stories tend to not end too well for the women involved. And again, that's not exactly shocking if one considers the abundance of sexual dangers that women have faced throughout history. Not exactly surprising that that would be reflected in the folklore. So when did we start seeing the shift towards enthusiastic, consensual monster fuckery that we know and love today, as we've already defined? Oh wait, what did Amanda just hey-oh? Oh God. Oh God. We'll find out. Oh, okay. I think it was when Vesper said the true monsters were inside us all along, and then Draven said literally. We can only hope. So as with many modern sexual phenomena, I would recommend having a gander at the Victorians. Are you tired of hearing about them yet? Yeah, me too. But it turns out that the bastards colonizing everything they could get their grubby little hands on had a bit of a lasting influence on the global sexual imagination, along with countless other things. So let's look at some Victorian literature, specifically the 1872 novel Carmilla by Irish author Joseph Sheridan Le Fanu. For those of y'all not familiar with the book via the 2014 web series adaptation that I definitely meant to finish watching, the short version is that an 18-year-old named Laura befriends mysterious Carmilla. Begins having dreams of a mysterious cat beast sneaking into her room and feeding at her breast, gay, and begins growing gradually weaker. Carmilla is, of course, an immortal vampire fiend who feeds on the life forces of young women until they die. Also, she's gay. Like, actually gay. Carmilla the novel is considered a prototypical example of the lesbian vampire trope, one of the founders of the genre. Now, because this was written in 1872, I should be clear that this isn't exactly like lesbian Twilight. Carmilla isn't intended to be a sympathetic romantic character tormented by her nature. Her romantic advances towards Laura are part and parcel with her role as a predator. She's an evil creature preying on an innocent young woman. Oh God, I looked over at the chat and Wolf Girl goes, I'd read a witch. Wouldn't we all? I can't speak for everyone. Didn't the Victorians have a thing for mummies? They ate them, Vesper. And Mary says, no, I love your history corner. This whole episode, a good chunk of this episode's a history corner. But while the monster fucking here is still viewed as a negative within context, it never actually proceeds to literal fucking on account of the Victorians being like that. I think the dawn of the sexy Western vampire is still important to discuss because it broke some important ground, and Carmilla really paved the way for Bram Stoker, who wrote Dracula 26 years later and injected a lot of ideas about sensual nighttime vampire encounters and intimate blood sharing and like mind control into the Western literary canon forever. Still not strictly desirable, but monsters were getting steadily more alluring and directly tied to sexuality. Depends on the witch. You're right, Rach. You're right. History Corner's nice. Thank you, Draven. I like the History Corner. And now it's like getting to be sweater weather, so I can break out my like little history cardigans. So please note that I specify Western vampires there because that's what Carmilla and Dracula are. Functionally, every culture on Earth has some kind of myth or folklore about a creature that feeds on some kind of human life force. It's not even necessarily always blood. Like sometimes it's literally just energy. Sometimes it's like breast milk. If you want to get into like the succubi and incubi, there's like literally, what am I getting at? Like bodily fluids. But the popular image of the vampire in modern folklore is largely based on European stories, with the sharp teeth, the aversion to sunlight, the idea of requiring invitations to enter homes, and those are the ones that have gotten to be sexy accordingly. Babies are vampires confirmed. Oh no. Oh no. Vesper, I can't read suddenly. I don't know. Babies, they do take a lot of your life force, your energy, your time, a lot of fluids involved in creating one. I feel like we shouldn't encourage calling babies vampires while your babies are watching. That's rude. But fast forward to the next century and the dawn of the motion picture, when we got to start seeing monsters interacting with women up on big screens. If you want to dive much deeper into this, I'd strongly recommend Lindsay Ellis's video essay, My Monster Boyfriend, which I didn't rewatch until I was like halfway through writing this outline. And then I was delighted to discover that she also starts by talking about animal spouses and folk tales. Bicons think alike, I guess. Oh, okay, wait. Draven says, so I haven't read the Carmilla book, but I've seen 2 different variations on the story, those being vampire lovers in the Carmilla series. You know, I'm sure they both bring much to it. The Carmilla web series is more in the line of the popularized YA paranormal romance that we're going to talk about in a hot minute. I also haven't read the book. I want to. I've heard there is a wonderful new edition out, edited by Carmen Maria Machado, who is a queer woman herself. I'm really looking forward to that. It's on my list. Lindsay Ellis is very good. Oh, please let me scroll to the next page. It won't let me scroll to the next page. While I wait for my Google Doc to catch up with me, let's talk about next week. Next week is going to be episode number 30. Can you believe we've been doing this long enough to have 30 whole episodes? Google, you're killing me. And it's just going to be another Ask Me Anything. So everyone, please, like, don't abuse that power, but also, like, bring your fun questions, because you got me for an hour just answering shit. I'm getting a little nervous here about why I can't scroll on this document anymore. And why nothing new is popping up in the chat. Did you all die? Is everyone gone? Oh God. Did I delete my document? I've never been so afraid in my life. I mean, I know roughly what's coming up, but like it's gonna sound a lot better if I can read it. Anytime now. Oh, here we go. Here we go. Here we go. Okay, wait. It was there for a second, and then the whole document went blank again. All I saw was Guillermo del Toro, and then it was gone. Okay. We're getting there. Let's see. If you go to patreon.com/sexwitch, all one word, and sign up right now, you get some sick perks, including the fanfic reading stream I'm doing next week. Fittingly, it is going to be a Monsters, Inc. fic that I'm promised is horrifying. Okay, well, stream is still working. That's good. Everyone, okay, everything just kind of slowed way down there for a second. Give me a moment while I try to get this this doc in order, because it fully has gone ghost doc. It's like trying to wrangle a ghostly pirate ship. Blurp, 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 blurp. Okay, we're scrolling. We're scrolling. We're back to Guillermo del Toro, which is a little too far. Oh, here we go. Here we go. Here we go. Nate, I'm blaming you. It didn't start jamming until you sent a link to the Discord, and then it popped up. Oh, that's another fun thing. If you go to patreon.com/sexwitch right now, at any donation level, you get to join my Discord, where fascinating conversations happen, and also some recipe sharing. So Ellis gets a lot more into the sexual anxiety and the applicability of xenophobic fear of the unknown and the other in those movies, so definitely check that out. Meanwhile, I will touch briefly on the fact that around this time, monster movies popped off, and many of the creature features feature creatures scooping up screaming white women and hauling them away to be hunted down by some strapping white men so they can rescue the nice woman. I hate myself of like a week ago for thinking that typing creature creatures was going to be like a fun tongue twister that I would be ready to pull off. Roman, you absolutely did oversleep for this one. We started half an hour ago. Oh, of course Guillermo del Toro's in this stream. Good Lord. Oh yeah. Oh yeah, monsters stand for some shit. King Kong is also a big name in this category, with the first movie rolling out in 1933 and establishing a legacy of movies and adaptations in which a big-ass gorilla has a complicated relationship with a human woman. Also notable is 1954's Creature from the Black Lagoon, which Guillermo del Toro has very openly cited as a source of early inspiration for The Shape of Water. As a little 7-year-old child watching the scene where the infatuated title creature swims beneath the human woman, mirroring her movements, del Toro says he saw the scene as romantic, wishing the two would end up together. He said, quote, "The creature was the most beautiful design I'd ever seen, and I saw him swimming under Julie Adams, and I loved that the creature was in love with her, and I felt an almost existential desire for them to end up together." Of course, it didn't happen. Oh, there's Amanda, yes. So young del Toro like grew up and made it happen. He was out like what do you mean you look like a mini Guillermo del Toro? How do you look like a mini? Pocket sized? What do we got? Oh, wait. Oh, okay, Rach. thought we were on the fish man. For a second, I was like, who got thrown in a lake? Sorry, the doc is stalling again, so I'm also checking on the chat. Basically, he went off and went with like Doodle, the creature, and the lady getting together, and that was like a seed that flourished in young Guillermo del Toro's head for a long time, evidently, because there was quite a bit of wait before he got to live out that fantasy via The Shape of Water. Sorry, my doc is just not cooperating tonight. Oh, okay, so quote extends to include, I had them eating ice cream on a double bicycle and having dinner, which is just about the sweetest. Why has Google Docs turned on me? Well, while I wait for this to resolve, how's everyone else's night going? What if I just close this tab? What if I close tab and then I do it from memory like a lunatic? No, we're not going to do that. That's nuts. Oh, Roman, we're all on his monster fucking train. Guillermo del Toro is a visionary. Oh, now Google Chrome's not responding. This is bad. This is very bad. If I'm still coming through to anyone out there, God, send me a sign. Not through the chat, because that's not doing anything. Just come through Pebbles at my window. June is closest, I believe, so that's going to be her job. Fuck me. If you want to hear more about the King Kong stuff, I would really recommend Ellis's video again. She also does a crossover video with another YouTuber named Redis101, not like legally named that, I assume. Oh, duh, I forgot about the Discord. Thank you, Jess. The modern equivalent of throwing pebbles at my window with Redis101, in order to kind of more comprehensively talk about the monster and the other as a romantic object, with like a wider perspective, because Ellis is a bisexual white woman, Redis is a Black queer man, and I think that perspective is important, specifically with King Kong, where there are so many racial stereotypes you can read into an enormous gorilla being hauled out of a remote jungle and immediately becoming infatuated with and kidnapping a white woman. Christ. Okay. All right. I'm not getting that document back. Excuse me while I try to access it on my phone. Oh, wait. Are we talking about it now? Okay. All of the chat just caught up, so that's good. Unfortunately, we don't have time to unpack the Pennywise stuff tonight, but I do just want to say right now, I have been incredibly amused by the articles coming out saying, hey, I'm sad to report that the child-eating monster clown is neither queer nor a queer ally. That's a lot. That took a lot out of me. Yeah, unfortunately, Pennywise is not gay or even an ally. It's just the phrasing of that one particular sentence that absolutely fucking slays me. Anywho's, okay, I'm going to try to access that document again. I don't know why I said it like that. Let's hope it doesn't cut my head off this time. I've lost my Google Drive privileges, I guess. But where I was rolling from there, when I tried to get a sense of like where the sexy vampire thing started, I found an article online published like in the height of the Twilight craze that attributed it to a 1960s British television show called Dark Shadows that was recently remade as a Johnny Depp and Helena Bonham Carter movie, because of course it was. And I, like, no offense to Dark Shadow, I mean, offense to the present one because it has Johnny Depp in it. No offense to the series, but I am affronted by the implication that it wasn't until the 60s that vampires got to be sexy. Once we had those, oh, wait. Amanda said, well, duh. Oh, about what? The clown didn't say gay rights. Yeah. Does it? Oh, the one with Johnny Depp? That's gross. I don't need that in the world. Okay, hang on. I'm going to try to pull up that document on my phone, but I know where it's going. I know where it's going. Basically, we roll past the monster movies that have monsters kidnapping women left, right, and center. And we finally start approaching territory where monster fucking starts becoming a little more sympathetic. And do y'all hear the fireworks going off outside my home? What is that for? It's September. What possible reason? They flew across the room via sex. And Draven's going to a casino. There's so much happening in this chat right now, which is fine because it distracts from what's happening right here. It's America. I mean, you've got me there. Sometimes we just like to blow some shit up. I hope that's not my roommate and their boyfriend. Yeah, okay, it's not gunshots. I'm not going to pretend I know what gunshots sound like super well, but that I know what fireworks sound like. All right. Okay. Did I forget anything about movie monsters? Should I forget anything about movie monsters? This outline is so long. Okay. No, I was actually doing really good. Okay. So, all right, so we started getting adaptations that were like more sympathetic to the monster fuckers. So you have like the 1987 TV show Beauty and the Beast, starring Ron Perlman as the Beast, which was nuts. He looked kind of like a lion man. And the 1991 animated Disney Beauty and the Beast, which both went to great pains to represent the Beast as like a sensitive and lovable figure, even though he looks like a Muppet, like a weird reject Muppet. Even when he's in monster form, to the point that like a lot of Disney fans have criticized the Beast's human design as being kind of a letdown after a whole movie of looking at like a big hulking wildebeest person. That movie spawned a generation of monster fuckers, along with the animated series Gargoyles, which ran from 1994 to 1997, featured a human gargoyle romance and spawned a lot of folks who are very into horns and wings. Oh, Rach said Ron Perlman, and I'm imagining it like that meme. It's like Beyonce, like yeah, Ron Perlman did a Beauty and the Beast series in '87. Adam isn't ugly. You guys are just mean, says Wolf Girl. I didn't say he was ugly. I said many people call him a letdown. I personally don't give a shit. Okay, as a child, I wasn't like into the Beast, but I also was like, that's kind of a lackluster human man for him to turn into. He should have been. I'm just saying. Even young me was not impressed, and young me didn't give a shit about boys. I mean, present me doesn't give a shit about. Anyway, it's just that none of the animation budget went into his face. Aw. So for monsters who were slightly more human looking, we got, at least most of the time, we got like the Buffy the Vampire Slayer series, which ran from 1997 to 2003 and had the main cast boning down with like vampires and demons and like I think werewolves at one point. I've never seen Buffy the Vampire Slayer and you can't pay me to. Oh, also Seven just came in all caps to let us know that they think Prince Adam is hot. I respect you. Oh, and Rach was just busy being gay for Belle. That's real. That's real as hell. So 13 years prior to The Shape of Water, Del Toro delivered the 2004 movie Hellboy, which has a big old red demon man with a giant fist, with a nice human lady. Once again, played by Ron Perlman. Ron Perlman, discreet monster fucker icon in the way that Del Toro is not. And then with the ground made sufficiently fertile for sexy monsters and vampires in particular, thanks to LaFanu and Stoker's work 150 years before, Stephanie Meyer kicked off the paranormal romance craze of the early aughts with her 2005 young adult vampire romance novel, Twilight. I've said this before, and I will continue to say it, Twilight and the cultural craze it spawned needs be taken seriously as a literary phenomenon, whether you personally enjoyed it or not. Sure, we can acknowledge that precious few of the vampires and werewolves and fallen angels and aliens and like mermaid boys, I don't know, in these books were like visibly inhuman. Most of them were pretty generically attractive teenage boys, if such a thing can be said to exist. You know, but even if they had alternate monstrous forms, they tended to spend most of their time looking like young human men. But what they lacked in protruding fangs and scales, many of these romantic heroes made up for in asking their protagonists to, in asking for their protagonists / love interests and by extension the reader, to empathize with and maybe even find love for something far outside the norm, to throw convention to the wind and take a risk on someone different, and maybe living at the very edges of society or barely managing to pass themselves off as normal, certain to be cast out if the truth about them were ever to be found out. It is at least applicable. Also, Mary wants to chime in and say, I was disappointed by Human Adam because I'm a lesbian, and the theoretically unavailable Monster Man was more attractive to my baby gay ass. Yeah, that's fair. That's very fair. We do love acting onto a legally unattainable man. That's a gay experience. Dunk. Wait, my tab. Okay. Wait, my tab. Fuck. There we go. Okay. Okay, wait, Nathan Spalding said technically they can, but it's very, very rare. What is that in response to? Oh no. I need to know what's very, very rare. Also, in case y'all can't tell, the chat seems to have slowed for me. I'm expecting any second now that I've started talking about Twilight, it's going to blow the fuck up. Or possibly I started talking about Twilight and every once of you left, which would be understandable. I feel like every time I start talking about Twilight, it's like, fuck, here we go. No, this shit again. Like that very good meme Vesper once made of me. Jesus God. Google is like actively and hostilely trying to like force me to close the tab where I'm streaming. Guess what, Google? You don't fucking own me. Jesus Christ. Jesus Christ on a bike. Please just open again. Okay. Okay. Yeah, I can see. Okay, I can see new comments are coming in. I can only see half the chat because the screen won't size properly. There we go. Aquamarine. That's, yeah, I forgot about the mermaid one. The tab is a new cryptid. The 13th year where the kid got. Do y'all remember the other decom where the kid turned out to be a leprechaun? Because that was a weird one. That was a buck wild one. All right, so this whole monster as the other thing is at very least applicable. And while acknowledging the cultural import, I mean, Google does own many things. Yeah, okay, Rach wants more Twilight. Fuck yeah, fuck yeah, fuck yeah. While acknowledging the cultural import of these stories, we cannot overlook the danger in many of these relationships that is very real and present, that is heightened by the monsters in question themselves being terrible boyfriends, sometimes not because they're inhuman, but because they're like emotionally unavailable or controlling or pose significant physical danger to their love interest or just turn out to be their love interest's secret brother multiple times. Hey, this is a Jace from the Mortal Instruments call-out post. You're not even really a monster. You're just a bastard, and I still hate you. Them's my thoughts on that. Where's my water? Wait, Warwick Davis is here now. What? Oh, okay. Vesper just said a terrible sentence, which is that Warwick Davies Leprechaun has the same feet energy as Tim Curry Pennywise. Every one of those words individually is bad, and I don't want to know what they mean together. Yeah, Jace sucks. Fuck Jace. I only read the first 3 Mortal Instruments books because I needed, and I only kept reading them because I was starved for gay representation in Billing, Montana, and I needed Alec and Magnus like I needed oxygen. I promise that's it. I had no patience for the heterosexuals in that series. Thank God, this is a Jace hate group now. Jace, whatever the fuck his last name ended up being, he went through like 7 of them. Anyway, circling back from Cassie Clare's weird penchant for incest reveals, monsters in these stories are usually others, yes, but I'm certainly not trying to argue that they are a perfect one-to-one substitute for real-life minorities, because that would, it would take a level of audacity and ignorance that I do not possess to claim that like Twilight is an awesome allegory for navigating like a queer or interracial relationship, because that's objectively asinine. Jace is the City of Bones guy. Yeah, that's him. Cassandra Clare wasn't even towing the incest line. She still ended up kissing her brother. Anywho's, sorry. I'm sorry I summoned the name of the Mortal Instruments here. However, I don't think it's a coincidence that in like all these modern monster fucking stories, and dare I say, monster loving stories, the human half of the equation tends to be an outsider themselves in some capacity. In a short video about The Shape of Water, the YouTuber Laron Reedus, aka Reedus101, who I already told you all about, and the aforementioned Lindsay Ellis, both queer folks, discuss the ways in which those who are already marginalized and made to feel monstrous within society, sometimes with physical violence, or at least the threat of it, may be somewhat more predisposed to relate to so-called monsters, and how that empathy can understandably become attraction, especially if the monster is actively being presented as a feasible romantic option. So you see the bare bones of that in many of the paranormal YA romances, the vast majority of which are narrated from the point of view of a teenage girl who's never quite managed to feel like she fits in, even though like most of them are like white, straight, cisgender, able-bodied, conventionally attractive. They'll probably be fine, but for the purposes of those books, they're outsiders. From Rach, the Malik kiss in City of Glass made me cry, but the rest of the books can go fuck themselves. Yes, absolutely yes. There is this bit, I think it's in the first book. God, I was so close to making a point, and then we started talking about City of Mortal Instruments. House of Night was so much. No, there's this bit, and I think it's in the first Mortal Instruments, where they're all like, I don't know, they got roped into some fairy shenanigans, and like love triangle McGee is going on because you have the main girl and you have her nerd best friend, because they always have the nerd best friend who doesn't really have a chance. It's the Gale, it's the Jacob, it's the whatever, and then you've got the bastard that she's into, you know, the Edward, the Jace. Not you, PETA. God, you're just a doofus with some bread. PETA does not fit in the bastard category. But you've got the main girl and like her friends and her burgeoning love triangle, and the fairy queen is like, oh, so two of you have to kiss before I'm gonna let you leave. And it turns into a whole fucking debacle because of all their teenage angst, and like none of them will kiss each other because none of them want to admit they have feelings about each other, and one of them is just gay, so he gets to sit back. And it's so stupid. It's the most heterosexual nonsense. Literally, any two of you can kiss and you can leave. Any two of you, just do it. Just do it and go. You're all so fucking stupid. I hate the Mortal Instruments so much. Anyway. Oh, Roman, you absolutely should have kept reading it if you wanted to. PETA was a yeasty boy. Good God. Good Lord. Beauty and the Yeast. I hate myself. I made a note. Fuck. Okay, so those are like the bare bones, like kind of semi-outsider protagonists from a lot of the YA. But I legitimately went looking for this while I was writing, looking for like the paranormal YA romances that feature young women of color, and they just like weren't showing up. Because I'm not talking about things like Dread Nation, which is like more of like an action mystery book, or like, you know, it is good. It's a fun book, but it's not like a YA paranormal romance. You know, it's like it's paranormal and it's YA, and like there are slight romance elements, but it's not a paranormal romance. You know what I mean? TM. They're just not there. I think 2020 is the time to have a YA paranormal romance, a renaissance, where only authors of color are allowed to take a crack at it. That's not what this stream is about, but it is something I believe. I know Angie Thomas has expressed interest. Let's get going. Anywho's, if we want to get into monster-loving protagonists coming from the margins, I think this is a good time to finally talk about The Shape of Water, whose protagonist, Elisa Esposito, is a mute woman that gets her fish fuck on with a bioluminescent fish man who may or may not be a river god. I could honestly talk about Elisa forever because she's an absolute delight of a character. Sidebar, I just finally watched this movie 2 years after its release, and like after all the hype machine happened. Yeah. I get to movies late if I get to them at all. What can I say? Except for Us and Detective Pikachu. I have in the outline. I'll try to keep this concise, and that's already a fucking lie. Oh, here we go. Sorry, the chat just caught up a little bit. So Elisa, I think bucks a lot of tropes that often get stuck to disabled characters, women in particular. She's never like infantilized or treated as less than an independent actor by her friends or by the narrative. She's shown to have active sexual desires well before encountering her fish boo. She's whimsical and intelligent, observant, brave as hell. Her romantic relationship with the fishman is presented not as something like horrifying or meant to invoke disgust or pity, but is like deeply rooted in empathy and like dizzyingly romantic. The moment she marches into her bathroom, like strips down in front of the fishman, is shot and framed in like an incredibly empowering way. Because at this point in the movie, you're fucking rooting for her. You want her to have one nice thing, and if that thing is boning the fishman, good for you, girl. All of the heroic characters have like absolutely no quibbles about this, other than like there's like a brief, much memed scene where Octavia Spencer's Zelda is like, does he even have a dick? We are informed it works. Rach says, I would die for us 2019. You know? Sure. Why not? Oh god, am I about to spoil a 2-year-old movie for Miles? Might be. Oh wait, Draven just said, I think it was actually to kiss the person you felt the most for, but IDK, I don't know what that's in reference to. It could be anything, but you should, oh wait, and the Mortal Instruments. Okay, you know what? 2 of them were fucking siblings. One of them was the third adopted sibling. Kiss on the cheek and call it a fucking day. 2 of them were best friends. Fucking kiss and fist bump and call it a day and go home. Everyone in the Mortal Instruments is a stupid, stupid butthead. Anywho's, what I was saying was that in The Shape of Water, you can tell who the good guys are because 1, they're okay with fish fucking, and 2, they all know sign language. And I think that is a great way to differentiate your good guys. Also, the bad guy does not make himself hard to spot. Holy shit, this is not a stream about Guillermo del Toro's hot screenwriting tips, but boy, does the man know how to personify evil white patriarchy. Oh, Rach says it was because Cassandra Clare can't write interesting stories, which just makes more angst. Yeah. Oh, okay, yeah. Mary wanted to throw out magical cripple healing isn't a great trope. Was there, because I know there's the singing scene, and we can definitely critique like that. Because like, you know, you can, because like Elisa's a fan of, for those who haven't seen the movie, there's a bit where Elisa, who was shown to be a fan of like old-timey like singing in musicals, there's like an imagined spot where she is singing and dancing with the fishman, like an elaborate black and white dance number. And we can definitely critique that. For sure, that's like necessary and needed. And that was like one of the things I like took notes when I watched it. I felt like I was in like a GWS class again. And I was like, that's interesting. We can discuss. Because on the one hand, this is like Elisa's concept of romance and like what have you, but also like let's talk about like the sudden voicedness of that. Oh, Roman wanted to toss in, Pale Man was the most terrifying motherfucker and a white supremacist and the only monster I refuse to fuck. Yeah, I wanted to dig up that Del Toro tweet where he's like, it's not a coincidence that he's pale and a man. Del Toro is very good at white men be evil and shit. Just the way Michael Shannon is immediately coded as just the worst fucking person by the way he walks into a bathroom and like immediately domineers the conversation that Eliza and Zelda were having and like talks over them and then doesn't wash his hands when he's finished pissing and then says like super, casually like, oh, nice chatting with you, having just talked over both of them and made them both flagrantly uncomfortable by pissing in front of them and also was holding like a big ass cattle prod the whole time. It's like you hate him immediately. You hate him instantly. It's masterful characterization. Oh, from you, kid, the reason why the main character always being a cis straight white woman makes me uncomfortable is because the idea that the allegory of monsters being a minority is the active sexualization of people of color. You know, absolutely. And like I said, like we should never read it as like a one-to-one, because the cases where that is more applicable, like especially like the older movies like Kong and what have you. It's not. It's always a you shouldn't ever look at monsters and go, oh, this is like one-on-one for like a real world issue at J.K. Rowling with her, oh, werewolves represent AIDS. Hey, bad. Very bad. Very fucking bad. Oh, and Roman just caught a Squirtle. Man, we're everywhere. Okay, hang on. I've only got like 2 more pages left. I fucking promise. I talked about the Shape of Water for like a lot, but I can skip over this. Anyway, I think there's like it's genuinely, Lupin was incredibly bisexual. I don't have a lot of feelings about Harry Potter anymore, but Remus Lupin and Sirius Black were boyfriends. So I think it's genuinely not a coincidence that we've started seeing a rise in monster fucking alongside a rise in increased emphasis on representation of various kinds of marginalized identities in more mainstream media. And again, that's not because they should be read as a one-to-one like allegory, because that's shit. If you want marginalized characters, write them. But I think it does have a lot to do with like why that is kind of bubbling up. I think it has a lot to do with why queer folks in particular seem to gravitate to a lot of these central relationships with monsters. A few months back, a friend of mine wrote an article about our D&D group, which I DM with a self-promotion. That's not any kind of self-promotion. And what a relief it was for her as a queer woman to be able to play in a world where queerness is treated as just completely ordinary and completely unremarkable, but still celebrated. Oh God. I have like two rules in my D&D world building: no fantasy racism, no fantasy homophobia or transphobia. 3, if you see Ansel Elgort, punch him on sight. I think there's a similar appeal in monster fucking, like this idea that it kind of exists outside of heteronormative binaries by virtue of involving something that's not even fucking human. I think even like outside of queerness, there's a relief in like, I mean, it is still tied to queerness. Like for me, like a lot of the appeal of monster fucking, and I said I wasn't gonna include my own faves, but like y'all know I'm into death the concept, like the Grim Reaper as girlfriend material. Like I think if you're someone who is kind of clueless about like romantic sexual relationships and like the implicit rules there's a lot of comfort in the idea that like by dating something like that, you know, you're kind of from having to navigate the rules from scratch anyway. Like that's just assumed. It's assumed this is not going to be a normal relationship. It's assumed you're coming from a very different place and you're going to have to like actively define that and figure it out as you go. You know, it's fucking sexy communication with the Grim Reaper. Christ. God. Oh, I had a whole thing about why, specifically in a D&D context, that's why I think a lot of queer folks really have like clung to like tieflings and orcs as well, you know, because we see this group of folks where that the lore is like, oh, well, these guys are like always chaotic evil or always like neutral evil or always some kind of evil. And I think if you are like outside, oh God, Nathan, no, don't die just to hook me up. I will also die at some point and then we'll date. Me and my death boo. You know what? Sexy communication with the Grim Reaper would be a great sticker. It's over a Ouija board. I think if you are from any kind of group where you're often slapped with oh, well, these people are always like that, you're maybe a little more inclined to be into a fictional group of monsters that people decide are always like that. Whether it's just like you like playing tieflings, you want to get fucked by a tiefling, all of the above, you just think they're neat. I just think they're neat. Whether you want to get railed by an orc in the moonlight. We've reached the end. Orc sexy because big lady with knives. You're correct, Mary. Yeah, this is a thing that gets discussed in the Reedus and Lindsay Ellis video. The crossover that they did that's about The Shape of Water specifically is kind of talking about how that like empathy based on obviously not perfectly one-to-one shared marginalization, because again, fishman marginalization does not get to take the place of real humanization, but it can spawn a kind of empathy, and the empathy can very easily become attraction, especially if you're someone predisposed to crushing on fictional characters. Oh, Draven has a tiefling character in a relationship with a dragonborn. That's fucking adorable. I love that. We stan couples with no humans in them at all. So I think ultimately that's what it is there's just like a lot of appeal to the idea that these relationships can exist entirely outside of normative human sexual scripts at all. Whatever it is about any kind of normativity that kind of gets you down or makes you feel not included, you can imagine something completely outside of that and comfortable and like sensual and rad as hell with the monster of your choosing. Because what the fuck do monsters care about human normativity? Not at all. They're like by definition not allowed in it. So you can just make that relationship whatever you want. And that's my thesis there, is why I think we've seen such an upward trend and like popularity for like monster fucking, particularly with queer folks. It's just it's about the outsider status. How many memes can I reference in this as I try to wrap up? Oh yeah, other things that are sexy. I literally ended on the bullet point of what's sexier than defying convention to define what love means for yourself. Not a damn thing in the world, my friends. That is what I've got tonight. We are cha-cha sliding in just under the hour mark. I want to run a quick what's coming up by y'all again. Next week, it is going to be an Ask Me Anything for an hour. Ask me anything except which monsters I'd fuck, because we had an entire stream that was that, and now you already know all of them. I know, Vesper, it just flew. It's almost like there are significant chunks of time dedicated to me going, where's my fucking Google Doc? God, I fucking love people who update us on their pets while the stream is happening. Oh shit, any requests for fan art? I'm burned on calligraphy, but I'm down for anything else. If anyone has fan art requests, fucking tell Mary now. Mary does fantastic work. There's a very fucking good dragon. Oh shit, Vesper's gonna see everyone's favorite funky Irish bog man. I'm stoked. Oh, the dog was good for 15 minutes. I thought you were saying I was good for 15 minutes. I'm like, were the other 10 minutes when my document was crashing and not cooperating? I also thought I was good for those 50 minutes. So next week is the Ask Me Anything. Oh, wait, shit. Mary, draw like a cute Grim Reaper. I love a cute Grim Reaper. Maybe I'll even put it on my body with this one. I feel like that might be excessive, but yeah, I'm always good. Thank you, Nathan. The week after that, I am being joined by a special guest, my friend Ian, who is going to come in and talk to us all about navigating the healthcare system as a trans man. When I sat down to talk to Ian about this, he was very clear, like, hey, listen, I don't want to just talk about like hormones and surgery, because that's what everyone talks about, and we're not fucking doing that. He said it much more in a much more composed manner than that. I'm putting words in his mouth, and that's wrong. It was a fucking really interesting conversation, and I'm really excited to not replicate it in any way for y'all, because that's not how conversations work, but throw some talking points out and learn some completely new stuff. Seduce death by covering your body with her image. Okay, if I saw someone come up to me covered in tattoos of my face, I would run immediately. Miles wants to know when queer baiting part 2 is happening. Me too, babe. Listen, here's the thing. I did part 1, and then I got really fucking busy. And I was like, it's gonna come soon. And now it's coming eventually. I have already mapped out October, and it's not there. So maybe keep an eye on November. Maybe we'll it didn't happen while you were in the woods. Why were you in the woods? Maybe we'll kick off maybe it will be the 1-year anniversary special. Maybe it will become a fun running joke among the viewers of this stream that I'm never gonna do it. No, I'll do it eventually. Miles was a summer camp. That's fun. So next week is the AMA. The week after that is Ian talking about healthcare. The week after that is when I am going to Okay, so a couple weeks back, there was a tweet going around talking about how it will never be feminist practice to date a man. And boy, do I have some fucking feelings about that one. And I know that a lot of the people in this chat do because they talked about it with me on Discord. So that's going to be a lively one, I hope. I am breaking down whether or not it's feminist to date a man, whether or not it even matters. And we're going to talk a little bit about political lesbianism. Oh, Miles just said in all caps, and then what appears to be like a deeply unpleased face. Oh, Rach, yeah, that is the first week of October. And then the week after that, that is National Coming Out Week here in America, at least. And I'm going to do a little something, I hope, talking about labels and what, why a lot of people find a lot of comfort in them and why oh, no, Mary, I hope not. Political lesbian, as in a lesbian who's political, is very different than political lesbianism, which is a garbage concept. We're going to talk about it. Which one is the first week of October? It's the political lesbianism one, Vesper. And then the week after that, I'm going to talk about, for National Coming Out Week, I'm going to talk about labels and what is up with labels and where I think they're very useful and why we should respect everyone's labels, of course. But also what I think some of the limitations are and why I think maybe it's not awesome to be too hung up on being able to label every individual component of your lived experience. Oh, shit, wait, the one, wait, is the political lesbianism one the one that Vesper and Rach are going to be together for? Oh, nuts. Also, hey, Roman, dude, you're not obligated to come out to your parents during National Coming Out Week or ever. If that's not fucking safe for you, don't do it, man. That's it. That's my National Coming Out Week message to everyone. If you're not in a good place, like, God, you're not under any fucking obligation to be out to anybody. And then the week after that, I'm going to take a week off and go see Hocus Pocus with my friend and her girlfriend. I'm a professional third wheel, and I refuse to slow. It's not third wheeling. They invited me. And I really hesitated. And then I was like, I'm allowed to have a life outside of the stream. But then the week after that, we're going to come back with a vengeance. And I'm going to bring two of my friends, my first ever double guest episode, to talk about sexuality in horror movies, because I have not watched any horror movies except for Us. I don't know if y'all have seen the other movie Lupita has coming up, though, where she fights zombies in like a cute dress with a ukulele, but I will watch that. Lupita will make horror movies, and I will keep watching them. Anywho, so that is what's coming up for like the next 2 months and a half through October. There's also like fun, cool perks coming up for the patron people. If you join the Discord, if you join the Patreon, you get to join the Discord. If you are at like the $7 level, the $5 level, you get to watch me read a Monsters, Inc. fanfic live for your entertainment next week that I'm promised is horrifying. I haven't read it yet, and I'm scared. We'll be scared together. I think it's very fitting that it's a monster one. And then later in this month, I think the last Monday of the month, I'm going to do a baking stream for the $7 nut patrons. I'm going to make oatmeal pancakes. They're my favorite pancakes. I make them from scratch. I don't do it very often because they're pretty special, but I think it's a nice autumnal treat. The Discord gives Nathan many heart attacks. Please join us to watch a very young man experience premature cardiac arrest. Pancakes are so valid. On that note, do non-patrons get to know like what the fanfics are? I guess. I don't know. I post update. Maybe. I don't think I've ever like leaked that. Maybe I have. I usually include it in the newsletter that I send to patrons. If you're like desperate to know what the Monsters Inc. fic is, like drop me a DM, man. I'll send you a link. It's fine. That doesn't need to be a secret. Look, friendships happen in the Discord. Come join the Discord. Pay for friendship. I hate myself. I love you all. Have a beautiful night. You're great. I cherish you. Go find the monster of your dreams. Let's see if it'll let me end on time. If not, I have to play us out with my ukulele like Lupita Nyong'o in the upcoming film Little Monsters.